Immunity types. Active immunity is displayed in two types: active natural immunity and active artificially induced immunity. This is defined as the body's protective resistance gained to a specific illness via the introduction of antibodies. Natural active immunity begins after pathogenic exposure, causing a particular virus. The immune response begins an attack by covering the pathogen in T cells and take it to B cells, where they produce the protein antibodies and destroy the pathogen. This type has uncommon side effects and is not an immediate response, however it is long-lasting. Artificially induced active immunity is intentional exposure to produce a defensive response via vaccination. Antibodies as well as memory cells are stimulated. Should an individual then face the virus naturally, the necessary antibodies are in place to protect the body and destroy the virus before symptoms appear. Natural passive immunity are conveyed from person to person naturally, seen between mother and unborn child or through breastfeeding. The response is immediate, however typically not long-lasting. Artificially induced passive immunity is a defence an individual obtains through an injection of antibodies made by another individual diffusing transmittable agents. However, a gradual breakdown occurs, making them short-term. An individual's own immune system has no association in this process. Vaccination immune responses. The primary response are B lymphocytes needing time to recognise an antigen which has been exposed to a pathogen for the first time. Plasma cells also require time to produce the correct antibodies to fight an infection which at this point has grasped the body and is also providing indicating symptoms. In order to recognise future cells should invasion take place a second time, memory cells are created. Secondary response. After exposure to the pathogen has been repeated, the memory cells previously created recognise the pathogenic invader and rapidly manufacture large quantities of protective antibodies to attack it before symptoms arise. Immunological memory. Merriam-Webster defines this as the capacity of the body's immune system to remember an encounter with an antigen due to the activation of B cells or T cells, having specificity for the antigen, and to react more swiftly to the antigen by means of these activated cells in a later encounter. And as you can see, the secondary response has a much larger and faster reaction in comparison to the primary response. Vaccination benefits. Vaccination is a weak and stabilised form of a pathogen presented intentionally to an individual. This is necessary to force the body's white blood cells to manufacture protective antibodies in order to provide immunity towards that particular pathogen. Vaccinations contain pathogens which are either dead, live or harmless toxins created by pathogens, and the benefits of vaccination include savings in healthcare, decreasing antibiotic resistance, extending mortality, cancer prevention, economic growth, and empowerment of women. Measles is a highly contagious disease which is capable of infecting all ages, which can lead to various complications. Measles may not have been the key cause of death below, however many were symptomatic of the measles disease, including encephalitis and pneumonia. In 1940, in the countries of England and Wales, measles spread at an alarming rate with a total of 409,521 notifications of the disease alone. From these patients, a total of 857 deaths were recorded. By 1980, in England alone, the total fatalities of measles had reduced dramatically to just 26, and this was due to the measles vaccination introduction. 15 of those children were aged between 1 and 4, and they were found to have died in 1980. 8 fatalities were seen in children aged between 5 and 15 plus, and 3 deaths under the age of 12 months. By 1994, although there were 16,375 reported cases of measles in the UK, no deaths were recorded. One reported case of measles was in 2016, however, this death was due to a secondary infection. Many factors, both intentional and unintentional, affect the opportunity for an individual to receive a vaccination against disease, and these include parents making the decision not to have their child vaccinated, socio-cultural beliefs, fear of the injection itself, the side effects of the vaccination or catching the disease, religious beliefs, inability to attend surgeries for the vaccination, vaccine expense, lack of information available about the vaccine, and lack of trust in the healthcare service. Herd immunity. is the safeguarding of infectious disease to individuals, particularly vulnerable individuals such as elderly people, newborn babies, those lacking a fully working immune system, and those without a spleen or those unable to acquire a vaccine. Nevertheless, it is not protection against airborne diseases like tetanus, which is caught from one's environment rather than person to person. Herd immunity is only achievable when a large quantity of people within the population have received a vaccine. 9 out of 10 individuals would have to have been vaccinated against a particular disease to provide protection for those who are not vaccinated. Vaccine Knowledge Project reveals that vaccination rates are high in the UK as a whole, but this hides the fact that rates are much lower in some parts of the UK and in some other countries.